Hello and welcome. This is International Stress Awareness Day 2017. I'm your host, Danielle Sax. I'm a conscious self-care expert, a motivational speaker, and the author of the book, Shifting Out of Chronic Stress. Now, today I have a very special guest. This interview is very dear to me because I'm going to talk to Johan Ilgenfritz today. And Johan, I'm going to introduce you and you can add whatever you want to add to this introduction because I know that you are known as a curator of health expertise. You are a cancer survivor, a motivational speaker, and very importantly, the CEO and the founder of the UK Health Radio. And I read that your purpose is actually to inform and animate everybody to take responsibility for their own health, which is keeping, I suppose, your health freedom and not keep taking it in your own hands. You are there to empower us, to inform us, and most of all, to keep us healthy. Is that a good description?
Good day, Daniela. Yes, that is perfect. I think I can go now because yes, no.
Is there anything to add?
Thank you very much for that introduction. That literally is me in a nutshell. I used to be a fashion photographer before I started UK Health Radio, so it's all new. It was all new a couple of years ago for me as well, and it's been quite a journey. An incredible journey, actually, of extreme bad health to what I am today, extreme good health, from both sides. I always say that we are what we eat, but only to 50%. That 50% is also we are what we eat and what our food eats, or what our food is sprayed with, or what is not genetically changed. But the other 50% is we are what we think, and mental health is such a big part of our daily health that people don't realize. And it's as you mentioned, we animate people. I personally animate myself as well. It's a personal thing as well that I carry over through the radio to other people, to take responsibility for my own health, for my own situation.
Yes.
Not taking it, as you mentioned, into your own hands, because that would be silly. We're not health professionals, neither am I. I'm not a health professional. But just to be part of the process of being healthy, of attaining, I always say, and or keeping your health freedom, because being healthy doesn't mean you're going to stay healthy.
No.
You've got to keep it. You've got to work at it. It's like anything. It's literally like anything else. It's if you don't work at it, it deteriorates.
True. Now, can I ask you, because I just love what you do. I am so impressed with everything that you're putting out there. Now, I just am curious, because we're talking about stress today. As this all started in your professional life, maybe as a photographer, or did it start more personally? What is your stress experience there, your first encounter with stress?
Well, looking back at it now, I realized that stress was one of the main reasons of my ill health. I was so unaware at that stage. I didn't even realize it. Being a fashion photographer is a very stressful, especially when it comes to time pressure. And I found that that's one of the things that influenced me the most, is being under time pressure.
Oh, yes.
That's why I've actually changed my whole day so that I have more time to take part. I've realized that being under time pressure for me personally is the worst stress I can put on myself.
Okay.
So when I was a fashion photographer, it's always about time, always, So, I mean, most people don't know this, but before I even got cancer, I had a heart attack. 6 months before I was diagnosed with cancer, in 2011, in February, I had a heart attack.
Wow.
And now it really shows that that heart attack was caused, it was also a warning because it made me aware of my health was not good. So it actually warned me for later on for what was coming, for the cancer diagnosis. But it was literally caused, stress literally caused that first heart attack. And I was at 46. I was 46 years old.
Wow.
At that time. So stress plays a very big part in my well-being.
Okay.
And how you deal with it, because that's what I had to learn. I don't, it's not that I have less stress today. With the radio station, I actually piled on more stress. But I've learned over the years, and through your genius and through people as yourself that have helped me, I've learned to deal with it better.
Wow.
And I work on it continuously because I now see the signals, I see the warning signs, and I listen to them. And as I said, your genius as well, you point them out to me quite often. So that's
well, you know, when I look at all your projects, I mean, UK Health Radio, the Triangle Magazine, the Wiki Health, all that you know, even you're gonna give soon a live breakfast show. You know, you have so many projects. Now, what is the link there with stress? I mean, really professionally, did you start all that because you wanted to speak up and speak out about stress? Because actually that's what you do. If I'm, you know, correct me if I'm wrong.
It definitely plays a very big part in what we do on UK Health Radio and on all the formats that you've just mentioned. UK Health Radio started, I still had cancer when I started UK Health Radio. So of course, in the beginning, it was very focused on cancer.
Yes.
It was helping me to actually focus on getting well. It was incredible. I was actually feeding myself with information to get well. But of course, that changed very quickly, even before, because it took me 2.5 years to get rid of my cancer. It wasn't overnight, all in all, you know. So, but even before I was given the cancer free, I realized that there was so much more that I had to put out there, that I had to start telling people about. And of course, the more I realized about what actually caused my illness in the first place, which was stress, I of course immediately started putting out information on stress, on how to cope with it, on how to learn to see the signs first of all, etc. And it's I decided to do it not only in one show, you know, one specific show, because it's we actually touch on it. We have 27 presenters doing 31 shows at the moment. And we actually try and spread it out through all the shows to get that message out to a wider range of listeners. Wow. So it does play a huge part of UK Health Radio in the program scheduling and everything else.
Yeah, and I have seen your magazine, and your magazine is also covering a lot of really, really good topics on every time on, you know, to speak up and to, you know, to get it out, to be informed, to, you know, like you say, mental health, to speak about it, which is the theme of this year. So, you know, I'm so glad we're touching on that. Now, what personal message would you like to give to the audience about, and it's an international audience, let's be clear about that. It's a really broad audience we're talking to today. What do you, Johan, as a survivor of cancer, as a, you know, founder of the UK Health Radio, but also as the man that you are, what do you have to say to people about speak up and speak out about stress? Do they have to talk more about it? What is your personal message here?
My personal message is we have to start looking after ourselves. It is so important to look after yourself. Personally, speaking about things that worry me, mental stress issues, stuff that really, really gets to me, I speak about. It helps me. I speak about it to my family. I speak about it to friends and family, and I speak about it on air or to whoever wants to listen, because I think and even by speaking about it on air, for example, like this, or on the radio, or wherever I do a lot of interviews on other radio stations, it helps me.
Yes.
Because the people I speak to give me different input and give me a different way of looking at my situation. You know, we're always only looking at our situation from our point of view. One very important thing I learned during my cancer fight, and that is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I literally went from believing that cancer was the cause of my illness,
yes,
to realizing that it was merely a symptom of a sick body, caused through nutrition, in my case, and through my mental health, through stress. And once I'd done that, I could change the cause, that changed the effect, the end effect. And it is so important you have to be kind to yourself. And automatically, when you're kind to yourself and gentle to yourself, you start looking at things. You have to really go into things. I know it's this phrase has been dragged through the bush backwards and forth all the time, but you have to go within.
I am so glad that you talk from your heart, and from, you can feel your experience about, going through that phase of not taking care of yourself at all, not even maybe accepting and loving yourself at all, not nutrition wise, nothing, to being the man now and really taking care of yourself. And I'm so glad you say this, because I'm a conscious self-care expert, and for me the base of it all is that self-love, that self-acceptance, that self-compassion, that non-judgmental, that, like you say, those thinking patterns. So I'm so glad you say that, it's all about, that for me is all that conscious self-care. It's a whole spectrum. So Johan, I'm so glad but what is it personally that you think has saved you? Can I ask you that question? Is there one thing that you could say, what has really turned the whole thing around? Was it your perception? Was it your nutrition? Or is it a combination?
It's definitely a combination of a whole lot of things. In my case, it definitely was my nutrition. I have a mantra, and that is, good health is a choice. And I know people, they always gasps when I give speeches and stuff like this. When I say that, or when it comes up on the prompt behind me, there's always a gasp. But did you know that only, just for example, only 5 to 10% of all cancer-related illnesses on the planet today is genetically inherited?
Oh yeah, you see.
The rest is lifestyle.
Yes.
So what we're eating and what we're thinking are the main two things for our health. Of course, there are people that, as I said, genetically have inherited the gene and everything else. Well, I'm not an idiot either, but I think the most important thing is we have to be part of that process.
Yes.
In every part of our lives, we are actively involved in it, whether it's work, whether it's sport or whatever. But as soon as it gets to our health, we give everything to somebody else. We say, okay, he's a health professional, he must be able to. We take no responsibility. So we have to learn ourselves. We have to inform ourselves, because that's part of the process.
Yes.
And then, understanding something intellectually and actually doing it is two different things. You can know about it, but if you don't do anything about it, it's not going to help you. So that's why, when after my cancer came back the second time with a vengeance, and they gave me, I was cancer-free in between for 3 months. And then on my first checkup again, after the cancer-free thing, my first cancer-free checkup, 3 months, it had spread everywhere. but
Wow.
literally everywhere. And that's where they told me I had 12 months to live. And that's when I realized, my goodness, I have got to do something. Because in the first stage, I was going through the treatment. I had 2 sets of radio treatment, but nobody asked me to be part of the process. I wasn't animated to do anything. All I had to do was be there for the treatment, and that was it. And even after the cancer, I got the cancer free the first time, I still had this feeling of almost of, it sounds very dramatic, but almost of helplessness, because I didn't feel as if I had done anything towards it. And it was gone. And what happened? Nothing. My life carried on as always. And what happened? It came back, you know, so because I hadn't changed the course. So that thing between knowing it and doing something about it, that is so, so, so important. So you have to inform yourself, of course, and you have to animate people to be part of it. And you have to do it in a positive way.
Yes.
I do a grateful list every day of my life. I write it. Most people do it by hand. I don't. I do it on a computer, because it puts me in the right frame of mind for that day, in a positive frame of mind, because what's in there is all things that I'm grateful for and glad about and happy about, and or even looking forward to doing. So it's really positive, and that has such a big role in it. Whether it's work, whether it's personal, it doesn't matter. It's you as a being, doesn't distinguish between work. You know, I literally, when I hear it, good stress and bad stress, I don't think there's anything like good stress and bad stress. It's handling stress.
Yes.
If you can't handle it, and if it is hurting you, change the way you're doing it. I get up at 4 o'clock in the mornings to give me more time, that I don't put myself under time pressure. That's all. That's the reason.
Yes.
Because I get through the day so much easier.
I love your antidote for stress is gratitude. Yeah. If I hear that well, and taking responsibility.
Definitely.
Those are the 2 that I hear that are really coming out. And gratitude, I agree, is one of the biggest things that we can do every day. And it doesn't cost us anything to be grateful. It's like breathing, you know, it's free. It's the best antidote for stress, they say. So I'm glad you mention it, because we think about stress, positive thinking. How do we in a chaos like this can think positively? Yeah. But I agree that gratitude, going into something that you're grateful for, is the best, biggest, also quickest way to switch, I believe. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Definitely. It just turns your attention to what's important. And even making a list of priorities, prioritizing things, plays a very big part in my day.
Yes.
Of doing, and if the thing is at the bottom of the list and I don't get to do it and I am tired, I move it to the next day's list.
Yes.
Of course, if it's really important, I do it first. So it's not as if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you're not putting yourself under that stress.
Yeah.
And moving and gratitude is, it focuses, it puts the spotlight on what's important and what's not.
I'm very pleased you brought it up, because, you know, we talking about stress. I think it might be one of the biggest antidotes to it, gratitude. I think, you know, we all are focused on what is not. We all are focused, like you say, our perception on things is worrying about the past and the future, and not being present and grateful, you know, here in the moment. And that's a little bit what I hear in your story, which is, you know, I love that. Thank you for that. Now, in your daily life, what is most stressful? Is it still that time management that you talk about, or are there other things that during the day that you feel, what stresses you most during the day?
Yeah, the time factor is very big by me.
Okay.
I immediately, and I have a warning sign that I know now already. I start to get like a knot in my tummy, and
Okay.
I can feel it. And I never used to realize that actually what it was. I never used to take any notice of it. But now, as soon as I do,
Yes.
I know that I'm under stress.
Okay.
That. So yeah,
That's interesting.
I mean, I really have, with all the projects and all the different parts of UK Health Radio, I have a lot of stress, and they're never the same each day. I have new challenges each day. But it's if I give myself the time to do it, or if I have to get somebody in to help me do it, or whatever, that is how I deal with it. Or if it's just not doable, I say so. I phone the person, or I meet with them and I say to them, listen here, I can't do it in this time. I know I said I could. I'm sorry, I can't. Can we reschedule? Can we fix something? So I speak with people all the time.
And I also hear that you are really listening to your signals of your body now. After all what you've been through, Johan, in the last years, I'm sure, because stress does give signals. When we are stressed, we get signals. And I hear you say that you really listen to your body now. Is that also a big change?
Yes, a very big change, especially with, with my diet change as well. My body has gotten so, I went from eating just meat and everything 3 times a day and irregular. As a photographer, you eat at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that kind of stuff, to being an alkaline vegan, what I am now.
Yes.
And my body is so used to being treated properly that as soon as something is not right, whether it's what I've eaten or the stress factor or whatever, there's alarm bells ringing really, really loud. So it's from that point of view, I listen to it all the time, because your body speaks with you all the time. We just sometimes there's just so much. There's such a flood of signals coming to you that you think it's normal. I used to think I had a normal life. I didn't. I really didn't. Yes, definitely, very important. Very important to listen to your body and just be aware of it. Be aware of things that aren't good for you, and it's different to different people. I realize that. Perhaps in nutrition, not a lot, but especially in stress, I think different factors of life influence people differently.
Yes.
And to different amounts.
Yes, I hear you're talking about awareness, and I really agree with that, because in my practice, people are unconsciously, sabotaging themselves, or stressed, or they don't even always realize what exactly has happened. So that conscious factor, that awareness factor, it's actually one of the things that I strive the most, is to make people aware already. Because only when you're aware of it can you start to change it. So I'm glad you mentioned that too. Now, Johan, I really love this talk, and you know how much I admire you for all your projects and things. But I would like to end this interview with one sentence that I would like you to give. If it's only one sentence that you can give today, on International Stress Awareness Day, to our audience. One sentence, I would say, of wisdom, of Johan. One sentence that I don't know if it's a quote, if it's a phrase, a mantra for you, whatever, like you said just now, whatever it is, what sentence would you like to say to our audience?
Really difficult, especially
I know.
for hours. I think I have mentioned it before in our conversation. I think
but you only have one. What would be the biggest for you at this moment?
Yes.
At this moment, the one that you think for our audience is a word of wisdom.
Okay, I think awareness that we've just spoke about as well is one of the big things. If you're aware, you can change the way you look at things. If you're aware, you can change reaction into response, which is a
big
very
difference.
difficult thing to do, to learn to do. You can yeah, difficult, really, really difficult. I think, yeah, and the action part is probably the most important thing.
Okay.
Inform yourself and take the action. Be prepared to be part of the process and do something about it.
Wow. That's a whole tasking, that we take home from this, because it's the essence of it all, to be honest. We can speak out, about stress, but you are a bit saying then there's a next step, and it's not just to speak out about it, it's also to take action about it. Maybe that's a good theme for next year, for 2018, to not just talk about the stress, but to act upon it. So thank you so much, Johan, for this whole talk. I could talk with you for hours, we know that, but we have to end it somewhere, and I want to thank you so much for coming and talking, accepting this interview, because to me you are an expert in handling stress. I mean, you've proven it day after day, still today you're doing it. So thank you very much. I just want to say to our audience, thank you for listening. There will be, for those of you who only saw a piece of this interview will be, aired again, on the website, www.INSAD2017.com. So you can always review this. And thank you, Johan. Thank you so much for everything. And we'll talk soon again. Hey? Thank you for your expertise. Bye-bye.